This is positively governmental with Wade and Dave. Hello, Wade.
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
I'm good.
I learned how to use backgrounds. Backgrounds, my friend. So, yeah, there's no telling where I'll be calling in from here on out. Zoom is an amazing tool.
So when you turn it off, are you actually there?
In my head.
Okay.
In my head. Yeah, I just got back. I've been campaigning all day out in the ditches.
There you go.
But I got back, had my feet wet. I went and took a shower.
Well, we are here to celebrate the fact that Central is a great city with amazing potential, and to show that it's possible to discuss political matters respectfully. It's just a concept, but I think we're doing a proof of concept here as we go forward.
Yes.
So I guess we'll run through the council agenda. Came out this afternoon, and the usual frou-frou in the beginning, and really the first item on the agenda is some introductions. We have an ordinance to amend public comment. You and I have been talking about that, and I went ahead and put it forth, and it's basically just adding a little section to our current rules. Normally the rules say the council introduces the item, motion is second, and then it turns over to the public for comment. And then it comes back to the council, and we have our 5 minutes each and rebuttals and go on as long as we need, and then we vote on it. And having already heard public comments. So this puts, tell us what this does for us, Wade.
Well, it just changes the order and how we do it. So in other words, the clerk will read the item, and generally the sponsor, he'll give it to them. And before we make a motion to approve, we will actually then discuss as a council the item itself to cover any questions or issues any council members may have before we actually bring it to the public for comment. We'll go through, we'll have our discussions, and you have to excuse it. Every video, you realize I have 3 kids here. One of them runs outside and likes to talk every now and again. But we will talk about it, and then there'll be a motion in a second, hopefully, and then it'll go to the public to discuss. And we'll hear the public and any concerns that they have that weren't answered or discussed. Then we'll take our notes like we normally do, and it'll come back to us. And so the thought process behind this, and it's something we discussed on the campaign trail, was I'd like to see the way that the meetings are handled differently. And this just kind of sets that in motion and gives us opportunity to change up the way the meetings are handled.
And the main thing is that the public will often make their comment, and then when it comes to the council, we'll start throwing things in there that they hadn't considered or didn't know, yet it doesn't amend the motion, and all of a sudden we're saying, well, if this happens, this is what's going to happen. And the public's going, well, if I had known that, my comment would have been different. So let's get the majority of our council comments, bring any new information we have before we ask the public to speak. That way it's more efficient on time, but also they're more fully informed before they give their opinion.
Correct.
So let's see. Then we have the budget. We're going to hold that off, and just the introduction of the budget. We'll talk about that in a little while.
I need to read that. Is that an introduction, or
No, this is the introduction.
It looked like that was new business to be discussed.
This is the introduction.
Okay.
It'll be discussed in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Selecting a firm for technical assistance for grant opportunities. I'm pretty sure it's related to the culvert project. I believe this is the engineering firm. There isn't any supporting data with it, but or documents. But Senator Assange did our study and has directed us to where we're going to start. But you have to actually get the company that's going to do the specs on the work. I believe this is the approval of the professional engineering firm to actually lay out the project for these culvert replacements.
Well, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm excited to get that going. We had quite a few culvert issues in our drainage master plan. And as much as we've done on the positive, we still have, in my opinion, and it's not a shot at anybody, I feel like we could have done more on these culvert projects. We have issues, obviously, across town, and hopefully these culvert packages that we put together, 8 or 10 projects at a time, will start to address some of the serious drainage problems other than just the roadside or the off-road stuff. So,
and these are related to our 5 major bayous, our 5 major drainage ways. And what they did is in the master drainage plan, they looked at the flow of water completely through our city and said, well, here's your choke points. You got a 24-inch culvert under this road and it needs a 36-inch culvert. You got not a wide enough channel here and you need a wider channel. Well, the channel widening is very expensive, but the easy quick fix to get the most bang for your investment is to change those culverts out immediately and take that flow restriction out so we get more water getting on through here and getting out of Central.
One of the things I'll tell you, I was at City Services today discussing some things, and one of the questions I have is we have this we as a council we changed the requirements. I think we just mirrored the DOTD policy and guidelines on culverts in a yard. And we went to the A2000 pipe and to hopefully make it more cost effective. And well, look, technology's changed. 8-foot culverts made of concrete are not near as good as a 22-foot section of pipe. You save yourself the number of joints, but our minimum culvert size is 15 inches. Even if you go to 18 inches, we still require a 2-foot by 2-foot catch basin. And the thing that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, they're very expensive. Building a concrete catch basin is very expensive. And you could do a 15-inch, if you're doing a 15-inch culvert and you do a 15-inch T on that culvert, on that pipe, you can come straight up with a 15-inch pipe. And the capacity of that pipe is still only 15 inches. So, excuse me. I look forward to discussing this with some civil engineers and seeing if maybe we need to revisit that part of our code for people who do want to culvert their ditches, whatever size pipe they have. If we can look at some of look, they have some new technology that is basically a pipe-based culvert, catch-based. So I'm excited to look into that more to help with the drainage in our city and hopefully with what we got going on. So.
Well, if you see me looking here to the right, remember you are welcome to comment on Facebook or YouTube Live, and we'll if you got a question to ask, we'll try to address it. If you have something silly to say about Wade, we'll definitely talk about that.
Yes.
Yes. That's actually one of our goals. See, we made Wade disappear there. His video.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No,
I'm responding to a text, but
that was actually an improvement on the video feed.
Okay, well, I'm back, buddy.
There you go.
Yeah, my apologies.
We got some zoning
I
cases.
think we're doing a radio show. I forget this is on camera.
We got some zoning cases. The most significant of which is settlement at Shoe Creek. They've asked for some setback changes on some of the houses so they can put a little larger house on a lot. And I'll just come right out and say I opposed it last time. It did fail. It's been being brought back. My opposition has always only been because of the concern of through traffic getting from the front of that subdivision out through Morgan Place. Morgan Place was going to take a beating with this. Looks like there's things in the works to potentially extend Wax Road and on through to Hooper. With that in the works at the state level, I'm fine with the setbacks because we need for Shoe Creek to be successful. Whether you are for or against any development in the city of Central, at the approval point, once we have it, they are ours. They are part of our city, and we need to do everything we can to help them succeed.
And back when this was discussed, I revisited our traffic master plan, which it had 8 or 10 different alternative options that our planners saw fit to put in our master plan and said, hey, these are options that would increase your navigability around your city. And that is actually one of the options. I think it was F maybe, was to bring that spur from Sullivan and Wax there all the way through out to Hooper. So look forward to seeing that all come to fruition. Connectivity is a great thing, and that's just another way for the locals to know the back way around and use. And some of the through traffic may go through there, but the majority of the through traffic will be on the major thoroughfares. And this will just be another avenue. And it's a safety aspect too. You got a lot of cars in that neighborhood once it's built out, and they'll need more than that 1 or 2 exits on Sullivan Road. So good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to jump into the budget?
Yeah, I was very pleased. we had a great year. Sales taxes were up. We initially, what was it, about $3.9 million surplus, 3.4
Yeah, and
original.
the thing to talk about there is that while it was a COVID year boost in sales tax, there's some permanence to that because employers are now saying work at home more. They say about half the workforce is going to have work at home options, not necessarily 24 hours or not necessarily your whole work week, but at least a part of the week. And there's a real move toward telecommuting and working on computer-based work from home some of the days. And while COVID sent everyone home, and so everyone shopped at the local stores because they weren't going to Baton Rouge, going to work, going to Prairieville, etc. A lot of those people are going to be staying home more now, and so that 1 year extremely high boost is actually still going to be a boost in years going forward. It's pretty clear.
Yeah, I believe so. Look, a lot of companies see the value in the boost in their own productivity from their employees working from home. If you're disciplined, you can be more productive by taking out the windshield time. So, and part of the budget meeting that was good. Look, the council and the mayor worked very well together in coming up with a budget that everybody was happy with. And there were some key points. We got a lot of money coming for drainage, which is something that you're passionate about, and I think we all are. But
well, we'll start there. The mayor is, as we all are, I believe, very fiscally conservative, and he brought a very conservative budget to us, but was very open to us saying, well, this is a good budget. It will certainly do what we did this year. But if the council will make more funding available to the mayor, I think the mayor's interested in spending it. So our push, the kind of the theme for the night was, we might not be able to spend this much money returning these tax dollars to the citizens, but dang it, we can try hard. I kind of started with a little mantra a couple of months ago. There's only one thing worse than a tax and spend government. That's a tax and don't spend government. If we're going to take your tax dollars, sure, we need to have good reserves to make sure we can survive emergencies and downturns in the economy. But after those are fully funded, which they are in Central, we need to take the rest of that money and improve the quality of life for our citizens.
Yes. And in keeping with the work from home theme, Councilman McKinney brought up some good points about the lack of broadband. And so, his insight and thoughtfulness in that, and the mayor's willingness, we increased the economic development budget to do some work in that area and look at what we got to do to possibly get more broadband or find a way to get broadband throughout our city. We've got some good ideas about some quality of life issues, maybe a summer concert series where we, bring the chamber in and put some stuff together for the city and the people. And it was just all in all good. And there's a lot of innate details involved, but all in all, a lot of good stuff came out of the budget meeting as far as I was concerned. I was very happy. We're
going to talk a lot in the next few minutes about spending more money. And as a backdrop to that, I really think it's important that everyone understand Central has somewhere in the neighborhood of a $7 million operating budget each year. We have about $20 million in road money, tax money that has to be spent on roads or that we've dedicated to roads. And of the other $34 million, we've got somewhere about $20 million of that is dedicated to emergency funds and economic disaster funds, so that you can rest assured that even if we spend a decent amount of money over the next several years, including roads and ditches and economic development, et cetera, we are not touching what keeps us financially sound in tough times. In the 16 flood, we spent almost $10 million in that year getting ourselves cleaned up and coming out of that flood time. We got it all back from FEMA, but we had to have that $10 million in the bank or we couldn't have ran as fast as we did. So when we talk about spending money, we're not talking about eating into our reserves that protect us as a city, but been very, very fortunate over the last 15 years to accumulate a good bit of money that we can reinvest in this community.
Well, I think the key also is even though we're spending more money this year, I think our surplus, even after the changes, is still $1 million or so.
I think it was 1.4. Councilmember McKinney was kind of tracking that as we go. Say, look, We've done
Yeah,
all these great things for Central, and we still got another 1.4 going back in, and that's on the average over the last 4 or 5 years. That's probably more than we've been putting back in each year.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, look, it's a very good position the city's in. I'm very grateful for the fiscal financial stewardess of this administration and all the previous administrations. And at the same time, I'm excited to be able to show some benefits to the taxpayers. Drainage is key. I mean,
Well, on drainage,
we know.
the mayor put in the same $300,000 we had spent in the last couple of years for drainage, and after some discussion, the mayor was supportive, and council was all on board. We've actually changed kind of the way we think about drainage. Drainage is not really ever. It's been a capital project mentality, but this year we have $1 million in our general fund budget. Just saying, part of living between two rivers in a city like Central and South Louisiana, drainage maintenance is just something you do, just like repairing potholes and mowing the roadside grass. So we've got $1 million this year in just drainage maintenance, just to keep things cleared up, keep the ditches dug, etc., and another $1.4 million out of our capital stuff that is our capital funds that is going to be available. So $2.4 million this year. It's going to be a challenge to get enough projects lined up to get it all done, but I think we can. I've talked to some contractors, and it's not hard to do good projects, meaningful projects with that kind of money. So we're lining those things up right now.
Well, and right now, I mean, I know it looks like I'm at the beach, but I think we all know where I'm at. And the reality is, this is a good reminder. We have some hot spots in addition to the regular maintenance, but we have our normal hot spots. The Beaver Bayou area, Bridlewood, Cimarron, Plantation Way. We have some work between there and country roads, or not country roads, but country estates. I think maybe down Jor. That's two that I get a lot of calls about and spend a lot of time looking into and seeing what we can do. And so with the technology we have, I'm looking forward to utilizing that along with the mayor to look at the feasibility of some of these projects and putting them in the pipeline to get them done. Because as we all know, the rain will continue to come, and it's raining right now, and it's been raining for a week, and people are still nervous. I will say I'm very pleased that Central has fared very well in this major rain event. We didn't get as much as some areas of Baton Rouge on Monday and Tuesday, and there was some look. There's a lot of flooding out in Baton Rouge, Jefferson Highway area, the old Jefferson Blue Bonnet area. It's just tragic, riding through there, and 60% of Central's homes flooded in 2016. So we all can empathize with what those people are going through. But I can tell you, as a guy who rebounded and rebuilt, driving through that, it brings back a lot of memories, and that smell and everything you experienced in 2016. When you see these people going through it again, it reminds us, hey, we cannot rest on our laurels on drainage.
Tell you what, Wade, why don't you spend a couple minutes talking about some of the drainage things you've seen? I know you've done a lot of riding around today and yesterday. I've got to put together a little work issue just popped up on my phone, and I'm going to mute myself and roll with that for a couple minutes if you would.
All right. Well, so in Bridlewood, we have an issue with it chokes down at Beaver Bayou, and with Central being on a 2 or 3% slope from north to south, we think of Central as being flat, but in reality, at Beaver Bayou, at Comite and Amite, where the two rivers, the confluence of those two rivers, it's around 14 feet elevation, and in the northwest corner of Central at Highway 64 at the Comite River, it's around 114 feet. So if you can imagine across the land of Central, we drop about 100 feet from those two areas. So that means we're on a slight hill, and that water goes from north to south. And
thank you.
What happens is that Beaver Bayou watershed is at capacity when we get a lot of rain, and it starts to back up. And when it backs up, we see what we see right now in Cimarron, and we see what we see in Bridlewood. And I'm not sure. Obviously, I told the people I met with this evening, and I can't guarantee you're not going to flood. If everything continues to move, you may see a slight elevation in the water, but it doesn't look like it's going to, come up another 16 inches. But what I would like to see, and I'm going to talk to the mayor about, and Councilwoman Wells, she's the district councilman, is looking at taking, Bridlewood has a couple of the old, I call them sewer ponds. Back in the day, these neighborhoods had these collection ponds. And the city parish years ago came in and put lift stations or pumps in those areas. And they filled the ponds in, they fenced them off, and they just kind of let them do their thing. There's one in Carmel Acres where I live that's well maintained, but there's a couple in Bridlewood that are just kind of overgrown. And I would like to see what effect it would have if we were to clear them and put, a 10-foot rise, fall, dry detention in those areas. It may be a negligible effect, but we have the technology with our offsite drainage analysis tool through our contractor CSRS that they can actually, model that with a click of a few buttons, put in the rainfall numbers and see what would happen. There's some property, municipal property across Hooper Road as well that's currently in the Breck system that's landlocked, that's right along the Beaver Bayou watershed. I know the Corps is doing a lot of work along that, and we're going to have to buy some property to do what the Corps is going to do. And I'm not knocking the Corps, but I mean, we know that could take years and years and years. And if we can do something locally that would alleviate the problem for, the houses that are affected the most, then we could get that done, and then we could continue to work with the Corps to address the overall problems of capacity on Beaver Bayou. But that's kind of what I'm hoping. And that, I don't know what the study will cost, but I know that it just takes us to say, hey, let's do this and move forward to at least see if it's something that's even feasible. And at least at that point, we can say, look, we've done the numbers, we've done the engineering, and it's just not enough feet acres of water to make an impact. And if that's the case, then I can quit thinking, well, hey, what if we do that? It may help, and let those people know, look, these guys are trying, but now we know we got to acquire more property to do more detention. So that's just kind of my thought on that. And that's just one area.
I do have bad news. I have bad news. I'm back.
Oh, hey, Dave. I'm sorry. How you doing, man? I'm over here on the beach, bud.
No problem. Well, look, Marla Chapman, one of our listeners or watchers, said, do you all know what happened to the dredging of the Amite River? I know that the focus has been on the weir down south and the outlet to the lake and things. My understanding from the meeting at Kristen Wood with the Comite River Diversion Group, that's not really their specialty, but they were basically indicating we're going to have a champion in the legislature to pick that up and run with it, kind of like Representative Hodges has kind of run with the Comite Diversion Canal. The funding is potentially there, but it's got to be made a priority. So I would say call your legislators and say let's keep pushing on that.
Well, and look, there's two areas that lots of money go to, but more money goes to one over the other. And I don't remember exactly what they're called. You got the coastal region and the coastal area. And the coastal area, I think, is what all the parishes that border the coast. And then you got the coastal region, which encompasses all those same areas, but comes up and makes a triangle in northern East Baton Rouge Parish, and then it goes southwest and southeast down to the coast again. And Senator White's been very vocal about it, and there's been some disparity in how the money's spent. And so hopefully, we can continue to put pressure, continue to make noise. But look, it takes more than me calling or you calling. It takes everyone. Look, the citizens are very vocal when it's something they're passionate about. If it's City Hall or park system or whatever, they're very vocal. This is the same thing. this is something we all must be very passionate about and keep the pressure on and keep the noise at the Capitol to get this done. Because a few voices, I mean, I'm no more than any other citizen when I call down there. So yeah, we need more than me, more than you. And that's the key.
Well, jumping back into the budget, kind of on a lighter note, let's talk about the council sound system. We've had a constant struggle with that over the years. Not only the sound system locally in the building, but out onto Boxcast, and we've got the mayor to agree to put to buy a professional sound system. We're going to have cordless mics, and we're going to have a professional come in, put the right mixing board and drive rack in, and tie it in with Boxcast. So you can look forward to a couple of months from now to having a much better video feed when you're watching it on the city website, which, if you don't know, you can do that. All of our city meetings are broadcast. If you go to the front page of the city website, go down about halfway through the page, you'll see a link to the live video for meetings, and you can watch the recorded ones as well as the one that's live right now. So you should look for better quality sound there and better quality sound when you come to the meeting itself. So that's exciting. Takes the frustration away.
I'm looking forward to that, because if you're at a council meeting and you're in the audience or at the tables, you hear the cell phone buzzing on our tables because we're getting messages from people. Hey, I can't hear the video. I can't hear you. I hear everybody but you. And then I jokingly look back at the mayor like, hey, did you mute my mic or something, But it's just simply our sound system is not designed for what we're trying to do, and it's time to spend some money and do it right. The good thing is this thing will be portable, so when we do build a city hall at some point, we'll be able to utilize it there as well, and maybe even karaoke night.
Well, you've worked pretty closely with the chief on this. Why don't you talk about some of the equipment purchases for the police department?
Well, I've asked Roger, Chief Cochran. I call him Roger. We've gotten kind of close, but I think with any department, with any system, we need some type of plan. We need to know where we're going, and the automobile thing is one that it's kind of always confused me. We know we're going to need automobiles, so I don't know, what the rotation needs to be. I don't know how many units we need or what have you, but I know that when we would have a budget and it didn't include anything for automobiles, and then they have to come ask us for $60,000 for automobiles. I know that I don't like that process. We know that they're going to need vehicles if we're going to have a police department, and so I encouraged him to let's put some vehicles in the budget and let's go ahead and get used to the fact that we've got to have the vehicle. So I think there's a vehicle or two in there. But the big thing is,
but remember, we're driving a couple of 1963 Crown Vics, aren't we?
Yeah, we got some pretty old ones.
Not quite that old, but
they're not that old. But look, I mean, we've got everything we had. We bought a few vehicles, but I mean, look, when the chief needs the command center moved from anywhere or used to carry something for the PD, I go do it with him because I have a 3500, a big truck, and the only time they can use the truck they have is to bring it from the police department to the football stadium for football games because it's just not reliable. And look, I don't think they need another, 1-ton truck. But my point is, we've been lucky. We've been able to beg, borrow, and barter and get things. But we understand that there's a need for, if we're going to have people on the road, they need proper equipment. And some of the expenses we pay for maintenance on some of these units are worth more. It's worth more than the unit is. So that's one thing. But the big thing is there's a software change. The 911 system went to a new setup, if you will. And General Informatics is the third-party contractor that developed the RMS system, which is what law enforcement and all uses. And so it's been a transition. The mayor actually sits on the board for the communication district, and we're switching over. Right now, the police department uses a system that's not real secure. Our email is not secure. And so it's about doing that right and getting the right system so we can be in line with everybody that, all the other agencies on the system and communicate and be efficient and effective.
Um,
And with that, you have to have, computers updated and body cameras. That's
that's a
another
big one.
one, which is, the body camera. Look, Central is a great city, but we have encounters with law enforcement and people coming either living in our city or coming through our city. We've got some major highways that come right through Central. We're from the plant to Livingston Parish, a lot of through traffic, and the interactions need to be recorded and on the up and up to protect our city. So the body camera thing is a big deal, and it's a big expense in this budget as well. So
Well, and also we approved $200,000 for a study on our roads. By the end of this calendar year, we should have a priority list. And I mentioned we had $20 million in road funds, and I think 15 or to 16 million of that can only be spent to improve roads. So it's time to really ramp up our investment in our roads and do it smart by not driving there on the road saying, "Hey, I got a lot of complaints from this subdivision. Let's go put a road in here." We need to be talking about we need to invest in this road because it's getting close to a base failure. And as per the analysis done by this engineering firm, we can spend $1 now to save $3 next year. So prioritizing those expenditures will give me a whole lot more confidence in approving some major projects toward the end of this calendar year, and I think you're going to see that happen.
yeah, and look, working with our legislators at the state, working with the mayor, working with our people at the feds, and the CBDG money and everything that's available. We have an opportunity to do some matching fund projects as well, some major projects. So this study will help us to line out what's best to do first and how to move forward. And if uh, certain areas of the city may qualify for certain types of funding based on where it's at or what have you. So that's another good thing is having the projects ready, shovel ready, if you will, as the old cliche with the feds. When we give away $800 trillion, having shovel ready projects is important.
Just flip through the rest of the budget. I think we caught most of the major items. Last time I'd like to talk about today is let's do a little informational piece on BREC. I think there are two issues that people need to be aware of, and this is just to set a little background. BREC was created by the state legislature 75 years ago. It is not a local parish organization. It is not anything anybody voted to create. Now we do vote on whether to increase their millages and pay more taxes, and that's a parish-wide vote. But this bill is to take the cities of Central and Zachary, which represent maybe 7% of BREC, out of the system, probably about $5 million of their $85 million budget, but it does also, while it takes $5 million of income out, it also takes out $3 million worth of expenses. So it's a net hit to BREC of a couple of $1 million. And what it's doing is it's taking the monies that are raised in Central through your taxes and leaving them under central local control. And if I can run through the numbers, the city of Central pays $2.67 million a year in property taxes that go to BREC. There's an additional $130,000 a year, and these are averages over the last 6 years. Another $130,000 a year that BREC raises from gate and rental and user fees and things like that, field rental. So there's about $2.8 million worth of revenue at stake here. BREC invests about $1.25 million in capital improvements. You see the things that are done around here, the improvements to some of the parks, and some of that's bonded. But on the average, $1.25 million a year. And another $500,000 a year is spent in maintaining the parks, manning the parks, buying supplies for the parks, making repairs on the equipment, restrooms, etc. So there's a net $1.75 million being spent in Central and about $2.8 million being raised. So the $1 million, BREC is a very large governmental organization, and they also provide services around the parish. And I'm sure some of that money helps to support things like the velodrome and Independence Park Theater and the zoo. And a lot of it does also go to support a fairly large overhead in their administrative office. So what's being asked of the legislature is to separate Central out and let the citizens of Central, through a board, which I'm going to let Wade discuss, a locally appointed or an appointed board, to make those decisions, not part of the government. It would not be under the control of the mayor or the council. It would be independent, like your fire department's independent, like your EMS is independent. So that's the numbers in a nutshell. The question is, can Central run an organization like a Parks Department as efficiently or more efficiently than Brett can do it? And will keeping that additional $1 million a year in Central make a big difference to the quality of life of the people of Central? So Wade, tell us how this board's comprised and what your thoughts on it are.
Well, the board would be made up of 5 people. It would be a pick each. From the school board would get a pick. The state senator from our area would make a pick. That would be Bodie, Senator White. The majority state representative from our area, which would be Barry Ivy at this time, would get 1 pick, and then the city council would get 2 picks. And I didn't really think much about it. The way it was set.
I'll tell you what, Wade. Wade is breaking up pretty badly. Wade, your picture's slowing down and your voice is breaking up. So I'm going to jump in right now, so maybe you can look and get that fixed. The picks as they are right now, as he was explaining, 2 from the city council, 1 from the school board, and 1 from a senator and 1 from a House of Representatives member. And some of the discussion around the community has been, especially on some of the discussion sites, yes, right now it's great that we have a central House of Representatives member and a central senator. But what happens if 4 or 8 or 10 or 12 years from now, our senator's from Ponchatoula and our state representative is from somewhere outside of Central, maybe in Baker? Now we have people outside of Central making the decisions as to who represents Central in this. Are you back, Wade?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Your video's a little slow, but I can hear you.
All right. Well, so my thing is, look, I'm gonna change my background and get rid of all that. You talk. I'm gonna make some changes.
So one of the suggestions out there, and I heard it first from Wade, I'm not sure where it started, is could we look at the possibility of doing something to make sure that some years down the road we don't have a senator and representative not from Central appointing someone to the board that runs this group? And that doesn't have to be done in the first passed legislation, although it could be. It could be an initial pick by those 2 individuals, and then down the road assign those picks more to the city and the school board or to some other agency that's solely in Central.
Or the city, the school board. I mean, I even had somebody recommended maybe the executive board of the chamber could get a pick. You know, that there's a big interest, and the key is we all work together. But
I'd be just, you and I haven't talked about that possibility. I don't think I'd favor the chamber, only because it's not a group of people that are elected by the citizens. I think ultimately having indirect control over this by those who are appointing that board having to answer to the citizens and saying, yeah, this is what I did.
Yeah, well, and that's good too. You know, when I was talking to Representative Ivy about it, he said he thinks he wants to do his pick from a group of people that make a recommendation to him, you know, do their, and so, you know, I don't know how we go about deciding. I know that there are certain things that I do know. I know that we as a city, we run very efficient without any employees other than the mayor and his assistant and the police chief and his assistant, and any police employees obviously is the only employees we have. We contract out all of our public works, all of our drainage work. Last year, our public works, utilities, maintenance, everything that goes into keeping this city flowing, if you will, cost us around $4.9 million. And when I look at everything that we do for that $4.9 million, and I think that's over 66 square miles, I'm forced to look at the fact that we could do that with the parks, but I think the board needs to understand that aspect. And and talking to Senator White, I think that's he knows that, and that's the main thing. And I think that the key is to get the board that understands that, and then we let them do their job. I don't want to micromanage any of it.
If the legislation is not amended in this first pass, and we're getting near the end of the session, so I'm not sure that would happen. Certainly, our legislative delegation could go back and say, it was great to set it up with the initial picks this way, but in the long term, we need to make sure if we're going to have a board, if this does pass, that we have central people and entities making these appointments. So maybe it gets changed before even the second set of appointments come in. One speaker, one of our listeners, asked the question: does Central have professionals in all fields needed to cover the many departments needed to cover these parks? And my short answer is, we started a school system, and we didn't have the personnel in the school system, within our city necessarily, who could run in and be a superintendent of schools. So we went out and found the best superintendent we could find. I think Mike Falk did a great job, and I think the first task of this board, if it does happen, is to go find the best superintendent they can find, and that shouldn't be much spared in the way of making an attractive employment package, because that person is who's going to bring the expertise to Central to be able to do this thing correctly.
Now, as far as the experts in the areas of the programs, and you can brainstorm and think about all the available opportunities. I mean, you can do dance, music, you can do quilting for people that do. I mean, any hobby, hiking, night hiking, biking. We have everybody in this city. We have providers for that.
Yeah, I'll stack our talent pool up in programming against anyone. Matter of fact, our last show on Go Central was talking about the Central Youth Wildcats and the tumbling group and the cheering and gymnastics group. We have a lot of experts in a lot of fields here, so I'm not concerned about whether we have the personnel to put on the actual programs. But let me throw another point out there, and I've got to make this point because I've heard it from more than one person who I respect a lot. Is the $2 million that this bill would take out of the net cash flow of BREC, is that going to affect the parish-wide organization that BREC is, including the zoo and golf parks and things like that, golf courses? A $2 million hit on a $80-something million budget, my gut reaction is no, but I want to remain open to BREC helping us to understand, have we made an impact on the zoo? And maybe I'm popular amongst the supporters for this, but if BREC came to us and said, look, we still want to make the zoo free to people in Central if this happens, would Central do a cooperative endeavor and share some of the expenses for the zoo, or some of the expenses for some of the parish?
Let me remind you, the zoo's not free for anybody.
Well, but they're
going to have. They have one animal, so
they're going to have to show me that the programs they want support for are actually costing money, and I'm not sure they could do that. But I would be remiss in not throwing the argument out that we are, and this is the argument that was made at the Senate hearing and will be made, I'm sure, at the House hearing, that we're hurting Baton Rouge. Did the pulling out of Central schools hurt Baton Rouge, and did the pulling of Central as a city hurt Baton Rouge? Took expenses away and took income away, but the main thing is, I'm not here to advocate for the parish as a whole. I'm here to advocate for Central. I'm not anti-BREC, I'm pro-Central.
That's one of the best ways I've heard it put. Yeah, so, it's not anti-BREC, it's pro-Central. And this plan is what gives us an opportunity to complete the transition of relying on ourselves, for ourselves, and doing for our community. And I'm not against BREC. They have wonderful programs. Unfortunately, many of those programs are not in Central, and many of those programs require Central people to travel all the way across town. And so in one sense, it takes money out of Central, because let's say if I want to bring my kids to the velodrome, the bike park, and the skate park over there. Well, guess what? We're probably going to go out there, and we're probably going to eat out there and do some stuff out there. And so it's a drain on our local economy to not have the big attractions that are available and could be available. And look, skate parks are not real expensive to build. I mean, it's really not. I mean, a lot of the things that Breck's doing, if you look at what it would cost to private contract this stuff out, it's nowhere near the built-in overhead that they carry as well. I mean, they're contracting stuff out, but they're not trimming anywhere. I mean,
and my intention here was not so much to heavily
yeah, I'm not
advocate.
criticizing, but I'm just
We're here more to inform. Let's see. Another question: has anyone sat down and discussed what exactly is needed to maintain or upgrade our parks? As a volunteer, I have helped maintaining these parks, so I have firsthand experience with this such thing. Certainly, there are companies out there for manicuring the grasses and keeping the vegetation back, etc. We do that as a city, and there are companies that are professionals in that. And one thing I think that Central has shown, I remember back in the initial pitch from Baton Rouge when Central wanted to become a city, there was a presentation at the Grimble Springs Library in which Baton Rouge basically said, well, Central, that's fine, you can try this, but you're going to fall $1 million a year short. Well, 15 years and $55 million in the bank later, I don't think that came true because I don't think they were talking about privatization. And I think if we are true to the model that we've seen succeed in the city of Central, privatization will succeed. And I don't have any concern about that. And just trying to lay all the numbers out here and let people make an informed decision.
You can contract weekly lawn service. You can contract daily cleaning of facilities. And with that cleaning agreement comes, making sure there's new toilet paper. And I mean, this everything that is done out here can be done through private contractors, and that's the thing. I mean, every single part of it. So I have no doubt we can do it and do it more efficiently and probably provide a better product because of that.
Well, and one interesting thing
therefore you can bank that extra money and really look at doing some impressive capital improvements that benefits the community as a whole.
So this is kind of an exercise in, it's a thought experiment more than anything else, because we don't get to make this decision. The legislature is going to make this decision with, certainly they're listening to some local feedback, but primarily this is a state decision, and it's not a matter of whether they're going to have recreation a department, just a matter of whether they're going to separate us out. One reader says it's a no-brainer. Central people can manage their own tax money in parks. This is way overdue. That's the sentiment of a lot of people. I had a thought, and maybe the message I would give to the legislature is.
I see smoke coming out your ears.
Oh yeah,
that was a good thought.
There you go. Well, I guess the one thing I would say to the legislature is the legislature actually gave us permission and empowered us to take local control of our schools to educate our children. So I guess the question is, would you give us local control to build the parks where our children play? I mean, I kind of feel like if it's okay to give us control over our schools, which is a much more important aspect to a community than parks. Certainly the parks, we've been responsible with the schools in the city. I think we do a good job with the parks. But I'll roll with whatever the legislature decides. If Breck is it, let's just put some pressure on Breck and make sure we get what we need.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the legislature, no doubt. So I'm prepared either way.
So this is scheduled for a committee hearing at the House next week on a Thursday, and I think the session ends on the 12th of June. So this decision is going to get made in the next 3 weeks, regardless. What else you got on your mind, sir?
I mean, I'm good. I feel like I'm back home now. I'm not at the beach anymore. Sitting in front of the shutters on the end of the patio.
That's not the Wade fake background for his patio?
No, not at that's real shutters, my friend. I built them for a job, and the homeowner decided they wanted working shutters, so they needed one more board on each shutter to be functional to cover the windows. So instead of turning them into firewood, installed them on the end of my patio. So it's a nice little addition to shield the neighbors from the patio, because we like to have a good time over here at the house.
Well, as long as you see me and my papa's Wildcat, he shot back in the '60s on the mantle on the bookshelf there, you know I'm home.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, I may be at a ranch next week. I don't know, Dave. I'm experimenting. I didn't like the way it made my head look indented. Maybe I should wear a cap.
I can't even comment on that. We've kind
Maybe
of made a
wear a
promise.
cap or go get me some hair plugs.
We've kind of made a promise. We stopped talking when we stopped having interesting things to say, and when you start talking about the indention on Wade's head, I think it's time to sign off. So we'll be back next week with more great information and a highly entertaining, award-winning presentation. Award-winning presentation.
I'm going to go print it. I think this show was one of our best. I'm going to go print out an award for you.
It's certainly the best yet of all four. I think it is now.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is called season 1. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know when season 2 starts, but look, thanks everyone.
All right, thank y'all. We'll see y'all later.